Good morning again. Sorry for the sound of the generator in the background. Hopefully the propane LP gas detector and carbon monoxide detector won't go off. I think I've got an exhaust leak. I put so much money in this rig I can't stand it. It's just really obscene. I spent $700 in less than a year maintaining the generator. The year before that it was $900. It is obscene to get a little bit of electricity. What I want to tell you about are the DEW weapons, directed energy weapons. I thought I knew, I assumed that these were just directed energy weapons. They'd be just lasers, laser blast, photon weapons or whatever, used in Maui, for instance, and in California, and in Canada, and elsewhere, including 9/11. They were used then. And so this is a secret weapon system up in the air, up in the satellites. And the Chinese operated this last one that hit Maui, and the United States government helped them. Our government does the cover-up. There's a young woman on the internet who made a video. She was doing some research on DEW weapons, on directed energy weapons, and she was shocked at the number of patents she found. And I'm shocked as well, not just at the vast numbers of patents which go on for pages. If you take up one line for each patent, we're talking about half a dozen pages. So we're talking on the order of 200 patents. But the vast majority of them, almost all of them, have to do with psychotronic weapons. These are weapons that they use to enact the voice of God. So you will hear they can have God talking to you. You'll think you're hearing God inside of your skull. And sadly, that is one of the ways God really talks to us. But if you're hearing it, you can't believe it anymore. And they like to use that weapon on the Muslims in particular. They've got other psychotronic weapons. One will actually take you over and have you saying things that you never said. So they can basically make you speak and say whatever the hell they want. And so you've got others that just put in horrid thoughts, cause dream disturbance. And by the way, we know about the existence of these from several things. One is there's YouTube videos in which the CIA has given presentations on how they can affect the human genome or infect the brain with some sort of a virus to destroy the God center so that they can tame down the extremists, the religious extremists. Again, another weapon they wanted to aim at the Muslims. Right. What was my point? There was a shooting a long time ago in New Jersey at a naval base. And a black man was fed up and tired of it. He was being abused and harassed, and they wouldn't let him sleep. They wouldn't leave him alone, and he would move, change apartments, and relocate and be able to get back to sleep again. Then they would locate him, and they would attack him with this psychotronic weapon. And they would wake him up, and they would talk. They would harass him. And it turned out that he was working as an engineer on the weapon system. That's how come he knew about it. And he said he recognized the voices of the people that were talking using this weapon on him because he worked for them. And he quit working there because he didn't approve of this weapon and what the hell they were doing with it. And he thought they'd leave him alone, but oh, hell no. They couldn't take a chance on him telling anybody. So the first time I heard about him, he was already deceased. He was already killed. He showed up at the naval base, I guess in New Jersey, and he showed up with a pump shotgun. I believe it was a pump shotgun, American made, with an extended magazine on it, an extended tube. So he was carrying probably 7 shells in it. He might have had as many as 9. That's about the limit on standard shells. Of course, he could have put in the little short shells, and he could have put in a lot more shells in it then. But he was going to kill his former supervisors and co-workers because they wouldn't stop harassing him. So this is our witness. to the fact that they have these weapons and use them. They've been using these weapons on us for decades. We have what's known as targeted individuals, and I know that when I first heard about them, there's a woman on Facebook in Las Vegas, and she identified as a targeted individual, and I asked her about that. I was in Phoenix at the time, and it was about 2003, 2005. Anyway, she told me a little bit about it. Of course, I'm a psychologist. I'm interested in this thing. I want to know what this is about. Well, I sent an email to a psychologist who was a major figure in the country, and up in Reno, Nevada, and I asked him about targeted individuals. What is his opinion? What do we know about these things? And this fellow who had trained me, who I'd been to several seminars, who actually had his office have me sign a release so they could use my comments in a future publication of his, he disowned me as fast as he could. I'd never seen a man backpedal so fast in my life. Do I know you? Do I even know you? I'm like, yeah, I sat in the front of the class. I asked questions. Yeah. I'm on the listserv, part of the discussions. I'm one of the psychologists you help train. I even could have gotten the certification if I wanted the thing. That's where I was headed for. And he was teaching the latest and greatest development in cognitive behavioral psychology, called acceptance and commitment therapy. We're talking the founder of it. And him getting out of communications that fast, him backing off that quickly, let me know that he indeed had been employed on the project himself. So you need to understand that at least half or more of your psychologist, of your trained up scientists, and your social psychiatrist, at least half of us are not licensed, and we work behind the scenes for the government. So the government has half of all that brain power. The other half of us are out there giving treatment. We're somewhat hobbled because they dictate to us what we have to believe, and we can't believe in targeted individuals. That's a no-no. You can't go there. They're sick. They're not targeted. That's all in their minds. Well, yeah, it certainly is probably all in their minds, and it certainly is real. This government's been doing it for a long time. So if you have thoughts, and they are extreme thoughts, back off. Take a break. Another thing you need to know is that all of these extremist organizations, Posse Comitatus was one of them, the Ku Klux Klan was another one, all of these extremist organizations and the religious groups, Christian Identity, yeah, they put their plants in there to help start these things up. They plant the seeds for these extremist groups, and they plant the opposite group as well. So they set up this opposition to divide the country. They've been doing this at the behest of their bankers for years, since their inception in 1913. The FBI's been doing this, and the ADL also coordinates the data collection for all of your social media, your social, I don't know what else to call them, Facebook, Google, Instagram, all this stuff. They collect the data, process it, and then give it to the intelligence agencies, to the government. And then your telephone companies, all have put splitters on all of their phone lines, and the splitters send all the data straight over to Israel for security purposes, mind you. They do the analysis over there because they're the only ones that we can trust to do it. So we are wired up from one end to the other. They listen to us, they bug us, they monitor everything. Your cell phone is never off. That's why you can't remove the battery from it. They're always going to be able to listen to you. Your smart devices that connect to the internet, and they've been putting microphones in houses ever since, before the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act is the most unpatriotic thing ever. That's why they called it the Patriot Act. They do a lot of incredible psychological stuff to us. It is psychological warfare. Our own government has turned against us for quite a while. Now you've got the fires in which they carve out specific neighborhoods, specific properties, right down to the cars. They can decide which ones they're going to hit. They map it all out. And of course, the fires that they did in Ferguson and in the other large cities like Minneapolis, I believe, these other fires that were happening were all in the pattern to show that they were around the Federal Reserve branches. And if the Federal Reserve needed more office space, wanted to open up to have every one of us have an account directly with the Federal Reserve, they would need that real estate so they could develop the office space to have accounts for all of us directly with the Federal Reserve. I think that is what is coming. And your California fires, my insurance company knew about that in advance. They canceled all the insurance on those homeowners there in those Loving, California, and the other areas there. And that's all along the lines of where they wanted to build that high-speed rail, the boondoggle that would enrich the politicians in particular and the other big tech. It was not going to be useful for anything. I mean, you would think they'd build a high-speed rail not in the middle of nowhere, but they'd build it maybe between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, for instance, or, between Los Angeles and Chicago or even New York. They would do something along those lines, but they don't do it. Watch my other video on the second beast. I think I've got it properly identified. The second beast consists of the elite in governments around the world and in the corporations, these big guys who are doing the fire sale property development. That's what that's all about. They're going to make money off it. You'll see the bigwigs stepping in there, and you'll see the stars trying to whitewash the thing, make it look okay. I hate using that particular term, but the fact is that you've got some stars that have plenty of money that could help those people out of Maui, but they're busy hawking to get you and I to do it. And we're all taxed to the max right now. Energy prices are eating up everything that we have at this point. And that's how they started the Great Depression, was with making energy scarce and the prices went up. That's how it began. And then they began looting. And the way they do that is by short selling, or what they call naked short selling, which is when they never even take possession of the stock that they're selling. So it's real fraudulent transactions. And that's what happened in 2008, 2009. It wasn't the subprime mortgage market. That's just what the media puts out there so that you won't demand an investigation into it. And the same conditions which existed then exist today. They didn't fix a damn thing. They just set it all up for even greater criminality this next time. And there was more criminality in the stock market, in the financial system, and in our government in 2008, 2009 than there was in 1929. So you've got criminals empowered at the low level. You stay below $1,000 and you can stay out of jail. You can walk off freely with your stuff in San Francisco. And so they're not enforcing crimes so that the rest of us will turn to bolster up their police state. There's no justice in the country. There's no process, no due process. These are not courts of common laws. They don't accept common law pleas. They stop accepting common law pleas, and they only accept statutory pleas, which means they deprive every man that they're railroading, that they're convicting, of their rights. They could not. And that's the reason why we have so many men incarcerated in this country, and women too. We have a larger prison population than any other country on the face of the earth. And you think you're free, do you? May Yahweh bless. Those dew weapons are being used on us all the time. We have no control over it. What do you think Space Force was that Trump set up? Yeah, the space between your ears. That's what they're aiming at. May Yahweh bless. This is number 47.